Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to cover how the classes are stacking up post Witch Queen and see what is in desperate need of some much needed buffs and what is perfectly fine or maybe a little too strong. There's a lot to discuss, so I'm going to keep this intro short. Got about 1,200 words to get through, so let's hop into this. We are going to go from F to S, going to give a brief explanation as to why these are in that category and then move to the next. Let's see if I can keep this under 20 minutes. Alright, first up, F tier. In F, I have Middle Tree Goldie, top and bottom Fist of Havoc. Blade Barrage is pretty bad at the moment, and though the neutral game of the class is fun, it's not necessarily good in endgame content, so I don't feel as though it really has any reason to be run. Top and bottom Fist of Havoc are very similar situations. Bad neutral games from a PvE perspective, and a super like that just does not serve any real purpose once you are under light, especially if you look at other competitive ad-clear options that can do the same but from a mile away. Overall, these three just don't have a place right now with the right buffs. I think Blade Barrage could be very competitive option. However, I don't see Fist of Havoc ever becoming a real meta long term. However, the 3.0s could do some crazy things to these classes' neutral games and make them more viable. However, I do think in a real-world scenario, the Arc Titan 3.0, the neutral game buffs are just going to give a neutral game buff to Thunder Crash and make Thunder Crash an even better class than it already is. Alright, on to the D tier now. I have middle Arc Strider, top Goldie, top Stormcaller, and top Hammers. These classes are often here because their base super is good, but their friends on the other side just do everything they want to do just a tiny bit better. The middle Arc Strider doesn't provide anything top and bottom can't, and the block is pretty bad, to be honest. Top Goldie just doesn't do anything, in all honesty, and I hope it's removed in Solar 3.0 since bottom is just much better. Top Storm is held back by its super, since bottoms is just better, since it lasts longer, and Landfall does so much damage. Now, however, top Storm neutral game is quite good and should be considered, especially in an Arc 3.0 if they keep most of it intact. Top Hammers outside of Melting Point, it's just the inferior class to bottom, since it lasts like half as long and doesn't spawn sunspots, which are still insane in PvE. On to C now. C has 5 classes in it, which are bottom and top Arc Strider, bottom Storm, middle Hammers, and top Dawn. First, Arc Strider. Top is here because 1-2 Liar's Handshake is still 1-2 Punch and Liar's Handshake is still very strong and is still competitive damage. Bottom Arc is here because its super can last like 7,000 years if you run Radiant Flux. Bottom Storm is good, just the neutral game is kind of lacking. The super is great though, especially when paired with Storm Dancer's Brace. But Arc Buddies are the highlight of the neutral game, and they aren't that great all things considered. They don't really help that much. They do when you're like super underlight and like GMs and stuff. They'll make your guns feel a little better, but they don't do anything crazy. And so I don't feel like they warrant running the class enough. Middle Hammers is here for a lot of the same reasons the top Strider is. The fact that 1-2 Punch is still a viable DPS tactic, and Hammers does that, and the mini hammer does that the best. Lastly, top Dawn speed is cool, but not good when you are under light, and the playstyle identity doesn't work when 95% of activities have grounded on. So as good as this class is in regular content, this class is just meh once the game starts to hurt. Top Dawn has a gameplay fantasy where you want to be floating in the sky and just spamming your abilities. It works really well with Sunbracers. You can throw a melee and spam your solar grenades and then get that back, and then get your melee back and throw your melee again. It has a really cool aerial playstyle that's really fun, but it doesn't really do anything once you're under light, because now you're getting one shot in the sky for being up in the air like that. So it doesn't really have a gameplay fantasy that works in endgame content, though its gameplay fantasy is intact and works really well overall. I would love to see the just neutral play style of how you're supposed to play Top Dawn just be a thing in like regular Dawnblade playstyle. Like that's just how the class should play almost. Like if you like throw a grenade, you should be able to float and get your melee back. If you throw a long distance melee, you should be able to float and get some grenade energy back. I'd like to see that just be like part of how the class works. Base. I think that could be really cool for having a real identity to the class long term. B is up next. In B I have Chaos Reach, bottom Goldie, bottom Dawnblade, and bottom Hammers. Chaos, though it no longer has the ridiculous uptime, it still has some of the best still one of the best damage supers in the game, and it can second as ad clear with how long it lasts with Geomax stabilizers on. Bottom Goldie, you should know why it's here. Consistent uptime on good damage and a decent neutral game, as I like to call this class. Is the basic bitch of subclasses. It does everything just good enough to be wanted. Bottom Dawn is a walking explosion, and though the super got dropped a tier in its cooldown, its neutral game is still quite good and is worthy of being ran. Lastly, bottom Hammers, Sunspots. I mean, what's not to love about this class? Great ad clear, super, amazing survivability with full health back on every single ability kill, and lastly, a solid neutral game enhanceable to be made insane with some great build options. Alright, we're into the final two tiers. These are the 8 best classes in the game. If you brought them into the end game, I would not complain. In A, we have Revenant, Voidwalker, Behemoth, and Middle Fist of Havoc, Thundercrash. Revenant is a strong ad control class with multiple build options, and was just given deeper team play synergy with Renewal Grass that put the Hunter into a more supportive role, though it's honestly just as good either way. Voidwalker, I think, is probably the only class that doesn't really feel any better post 3.0. It's very samey, and a lot of things it could do pre 3.0 you can do now. So last season, this is where Voidwalker would have averaged out to, and this is where I am leaving it. After some significant buffs last season, Behemoth became a very fast-growing and competitive option in the sandbox, and that hasn't changed here in the Witch Queen. Very similar stuff to Revenant, though I would say Revenant Super is a better overall super. Lastly, Thundercrash, the 400,001 button press OS giving class that is a key part to any DPS phase, is here as well. I don't know much more I can say about the state of the class. I am super excited to see how strong this gets in Arc 3.0, seeing as it's already one of the best classes in the game. On to S, the top of the top, the best of the best. I hope everyone has enjoyed the video up until this point, and if you have, please consider going ahead and dropping a like on the video now. Let's finish this up. Our 4 remaining classes that are in S are Shadebinder, Well of Radiance, Sentinel Titan, and Night Stalker Hunter. Shadebinder was already one of the best ad control classes in the game, and now with the Osmiomancy gloves, they can get 2 of the strongest abilities in the game. If you haven't played Shadebinder, I highly recommend it because it is insane. Next is it's the most used endgame super in the game. The super is useful in GMs for survivability, the super is useful in raids for DPS phases, the super is a key part to a lot of solo flawless dungeons. There is nothing Well can't do, and if you are looking for a class that can do it all, I highly recommend Well of Radiance. Sentinel, the class that has made me a Titan main, a literal tank of a class, and that when paired with Heart of Inmost Light, has the best ad clearance survivability I have ever seen in a class, and if they can make Sentinel this strong, just wait until Sunbreaker gets it 3.0. It will be nuts. Lastly, Night Stalker. Huge team play with one of the best supers in the game. Excellent damage that rivals Thundercrash, amazing solo play with Invis spam, and a good ad clear through strong Void 3.0 ability spam. I am personally shocked at how strong this class is. I thought they had killed Night Stalker. Based off what they told us that they were doing to Night Stalker, I thought Night Stalker was dead. Like, it was going to come in and it was going to hit C. Like, that's where Night Stalker was going to be. That was my initial impressions based off what they told us. I had Voidwalker sitting in A, I had Sentinel sitting in S, and I had Night Stalker coming in from an from where it had been in S, especially bottom Night Stalker, where I had it sitting there in S, and I was like, this entire class is going to C, because this is going to be terrible, outside of maybe damage purposes. And they brought it in, and I was impressed. The class is really good. It's not my playstyle. I don't particularly like the invis looping playstyle. I find it kind of useless, because I would rather just throw my abilities and shoot stuff than try to hide it in invis and play around that. So personally, invis is not my thing, but I do think Night Stalker is very good. And that's not to say that you shouldn't run it. If you like Night Stalker, play it. It's good right now. If you're a hunter and you're looking for a good class, Night Stalker, Revenant, both are very good. Both are very worth running. Alright, that's it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy, and I will see you all in the next one on Sunday, and goodbye.